How might humans become post-human?
It's technology-based, and it's assumed to be the result of the advent of functional nanotechnology or of some sort of synergism in these various all these different emerging technologies we have. So somehow there could be a synergism between computation and genetic research.
What might that mean?
Well, immortality, the end of economics. Functional nanotech would pretty much guarantee both of those, because there would be, no reason to die. You had sufficient nanotech to keep resetting little cellular clocks, and with even sort of half-assed nanotech, you can make anything out of anything. So you can make gold bars out of McDonald's burgers, or McDonald's burgers out of garbage. And there's no basis for this whole thing that we've always done about value. Anyone could have anything they wanted at any time, and everything, including human beings, would be completely protean and could look and act like anything at all. It's a compelling vision, but it's just not one that I'm able to get my head around. There's no traction for me there. It's the point where I really do belong to the old order. Well, I think what I'm most aware of is the extent to which people are unaware of the extent to which they've been interpenetrated and co-opted by their technology. And I take it for granted that I've been, but I don't think I think a lot of people today have this sort of Rousseau-esque idea that it's possible for humans to return to the natural state, but in fact I think it's not, and if it were, they really wouldn't like it. I mean, I'm immune to a number of really, really terrible diseases because I was inoculated against them as a child. That's technology. I'm a male human in my 50s, and I still have most of my teeth. That's technology. I'm myopic to the point of near blindness, and yet I can see. And that's technology. It's too close to us to be very aware of it. If we could be stripped of it, which we can't be because it's actually altered our physical being, we'd be pretty unhappy. And we'd start dying big time. It's a strange thing. It may be a byproduct of what I do for a living, but I probably worry less about the real future than the average person. We've gotten to the point where in some ways it's not knowable. When I was a kid, we were told that it was. That was when the future with a capital F was very much a going concern in North America. That was part of our culture in the 50s, that the future was coming and it was going to be planned. It was going to happen because grown-ups were making decisions. My childhood sort of was split down the middle by the Cold War, so there was one future that was very much the future of the Willie Lee rockets, missiles, and space travel books. And the other future was a sort of atomic wasteland. I mean, it's very easy. It's amazingly easy for me to forget that I lived most of my life accepting that the world could quite literally and horribly end any moment.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The only memory I have a world prior to media is of standing in a peanut field on a farm in Tennessee, looking down the hill at a black 1950s, sort of late 40s panel truck driving along a road. One of the next earliest memories is of my father bringing home this wooden box-like thing with a cloth grill on the front and a little round circular television screen, which I believe we had for some time prior to there actually being any broadcast to receive. And then there was a test pattern. I think the test pattern preceded any actual broadcast for several weeks, and the test pattern itself was only available briefly at scheduled times. And neighbors would come and they would look at this static, non-moving pattern on this screen that promised something. And then television came. And again, it's hammered. It's funny, I walked out of the Matrix last night, went to an ATM and got some money out of my checking account in Vancouver without even using a credit card, just using a bank courtesy card. And the ATM in Santa Monica told me exactly how much money was remaining in my account in Vancouver. And just for a minute, it struck me as miraculous and kind of spooky. I had that feeling of, that post-geographical feeling. I think we've been growing a sort of prosthetic, extended nervous system for the last 100 years or so. And it's really starting to take, it's really starting to grow now. We're dealing with something that has penetrated virtually every corner of the human universe now. It's increasingly difficult to find people who have not been affected by media. It's very difficult to find non-mediated human beings, whereas in the 1920s you could go back in the Appalachians and record musicians who had never heard recorded music. And I think that music, those early recordings, sound fundamentally different. It's something very different was going on then, and something changed.
I know our girl is all alone, her man treating her mean.
I remember once I was very struck by finding a diary entry somewhere that where a man had heard a Victrola for the first time. He'd heard an English clergyman had gone to a garden party and he'd heard an Edison wax cylinder Victrola, and he'd come home and he was just completely traumatized by it, and he described it as being, he said that he had heard a voice from hell, this undead, hideous parody of the human voice, and that mankind was doomed, and how could God let such things be? He was like completely sincere.
Give him plenty loving, treat him right, for a good man nowadays is hard to find. Frequency may vary.